You hear it everywhere, right? AI is about to change everything. It's coming for our jobs, it's going to create this whole new world. But is the hype actually lining up with reality? Well, today we're going to dig into some brand new data that tells a very, very different story, and frankly, a pretty surprising one. Let's start with the one number that kind of changes the whole conversation. Take a look at this. 96.25%. Now, this isn't just some random statistic pulled out of thin air. A new study put the world's absolute best AI models to the test. And this number, well, this number is its single most important finding. That's right. This is the failure rate, the rate at which top AIs fail to do actual paid professional work. We're not talking about a simulation or a neat little demo. We're talking about real jobs that real people get paid to do every single day. And a number like that forces us to ask a really direct question, one that I'm sure is on a lot of our minds. Can AI really do your job? Let's break down what the data actually says. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at how this really unique study was set up. Then we'll dive right into AI's surprising, and I mean surprising, report card. After that, we'll explore why it's struggling so much by looking at the huge difference between just mimicking something and actually being intelligent. Then we'll touch on the billion-dollar hype bubble around all this tech, and we'll finish up with a realistic look at AI's true role today as a powerful assistant, not a replacement. Okay, so first up, AI versus the real world. You see, for the first time, researchers have figured out a way to really measure how AI performs on actual generalized work, not just those narrow specific tasks that look super impressive in a tech demo. They're calling it the Remote Labor Index, or RLI, and the idea behind it is actually brilliantly simple. What they do is they take real, paid jobs from freelance websites, jobs that have already been done by a human. They give the exact same task to an AI, and then they have human experts come in and evaluate the AI's final work. It's a direct head-to-head comparison. And just so you know, the setup for this test was pretty serious. These were not simple tasks. The study used 240 real jobs from the freelance site Upwork, and they were across complex, creative fields, things like video creation, computer-aided design, graphic design, even architecture. The average job paid over $600, and the AI got the exact same instructions, the same files, everything the human professional got. This was a true test of real-world skills. So, this brings us to the core findings, the actual report card. Let's take a look at how AI actually performed when it was put on the job. Well, to put it mildly, the performance was abysmal. This chart shows the success rates. That's the percentage of jobs the AI actually finished at a quality level equal to or better than a human. And look at this. The best model, Claude Opus, only succeeded 3.75% of the time. That means it failed over 96% of the time. Let that sink in. If you hired an AI for, say, 25 different jobs, you would be lucky to get even one successful result back. So you're probably wondering, how exactly was it failing? Well, the study broke it down into 4 main reasons. Sometimes the AI would just spit out corrupt or completely empty files. Useless. Other times, it would turn in ridiculously incomplete work. For example, it was asked to make an 8-minute video, and it delivered an 8-second clip. A third big issue was just plain poor quality that didn't come close to professional standards. And finally, there were these huge logical problems, like creating 3D views of a house that just didn't match the floor plans it was given. But hey, to be fair, it wasn't a total disaster. The study did pinpoint specific areas where AI actually does pretty well. It's great at brainstorming creative ideas for images and audio, doing simple writing and reports, pulling data from the web, and creating some basic code or logos. The key thing to notice here is that these are mostly single-step, self-contained tasks. They don't require a lot of deep context or multi-stage planning. Okay, so this brings up a huge question. Why is AI struggling so badly with complex work? And this gets us to a really fundamental concept, the massive difference between mimicry and actual intelligence. And it looks like just throwing more data at the problem isn't going to fix it. AI pioneer Yann LeCun has this fantastic analogy using the game of chess. He points out that even after seeing millions of games, and even after reading all the written rules, these big AI models still sometimes make illegal moves. Why? Because they can mimic the patterns they've seen, but they haven't really built an underlying model of how chess actually works. It's all just pattern matching, not true understanding. So here's the bottom line. Today's AI models are expert mimics. They are incredibly good at statistical pattern matching, predicting the next word or the next pixel based on all the data they've seen. But they don't have a genuine understanding of the world. And that's exactly why they make these logical errors and just fall apart when you give them complex tasks that require context and reasoning. And LeCun really drives this point home. He says he's seen this happen before. He says he's seen generations of AI scientists claim they've cracked the code to human-level intelligence, and they've all been wrong. He thinks this current generation of large language models is just the latest example. So when we hear that, the next version of an AI will solve all these problems, it's worth remembering that just making them bigger might not fix this core limitation. Which brings us to the money side of things, because there is a massive disconnect between this real-world performance we've just been talking about and the hundreds of billions of dollars being poured into the AI industry. Let's just look at this reality gap. The hype tells us we're going to see massive productivity gains, but a PwC report found that most CEOs are seeing no financial returns from AI yet. The hype predicts widespread job losses, but research from Gartner predicts that by next year, half the companies that fired workers for AI will actually be hiring them back. And while the hype makes it seem like the tech is so good it sells itself, we're seeing reports of companies paying creators up to $500,000 just to promote their models. And, there can be real-world consequences to this disconnect. For example, about 9 months after Microsoft proudly announced that AI was writing 30% of its code, the company apparently went through some of the worst software issues in its history. Now, that correlation suggests that leaning too heavily on AI without really understanding its flaws can have some seriously negative impacts. So, if AI isn't ready to be this amazing autonomous worker, then what is it good for? And this leads us to our final section, finding a realistic, practical, and effective role for AI today. And that role is as an assistant, not a replacement. We really need to rethink its role. Based on all this data, here's what AI is not. It's not an autonomous expert you can just hand a complex project to and walk away. It is not a reliable decision maker, and it is absolutely not a one-to-one human replacement. But here's what AI is. It's an incredible time-saving assistant, a fantastic partner for brainstorming ideas, and an excellent tool for generating a first draft that a human can then take and make great. The winning formula here isn't AI versus human. It's human plus AI. In this setup, the human provides the strategy, the real-world context, and, this is key, the final quality control. The AI gets to handle the boring, repetitive tasks and generate some initial ideas. Then, the human comes back in to make the final calls and polish the work. The result is a powerful support tool that makes human work better and faster. And the really crucial point here is that getting AI to work well isn't just about telling everyone in the office, hey, go use it. It requires a planned, skilled rollout. You have to understand its shortcomings. The people and the companies who get this, who know exactly where to use AI and where to rely on human judgment, they're the ones who are going to get a real advantage. All right, so let's wrap this up with a quick recap. The latest real-world data shows that today's AI fails at over 96% of complex professional jobs. It's fantastic at simple, self-contained tasks, but it really struggles when it needs to reason through multiple steps. And that's because its core function is mimicry, not real understanding, a problem that just adding more data won't solve. And because of all that, its most effective role right now is as a powerful assistant, guided by a human expert. So we've come to the end of our explainer. This data paints a really clear picture, one that's pretty different from the daily headlines. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Now that you've seen the actual data, how will you change the way you use, or maybe just the way you think about AI in your own work and in your own life?